Connor Zilisch offers his cup car to Max Verstappen. Corey LaJoie regrets those Truck Series comments he made this offseason. And the Hocevar Stenhouse beef seems to be over as quickly as it started. How's it going, y'all? My name is Eric. Welcome to Out of the Groove. Happy Friday, folks. Let's just chat for a bit. A lot of storylines, a lot of narratives this week. Today's a good day to tie up some loose ends. Looking ahead to Sunday, Ram is teasing a major announcement. We've talked about the leaks this week. The Ram show truck has been seen at Michigan International Speedway. Fans have posted photos of a major Ram display in the fan zone. So safe to say, Ram's Sunday announcement at least has something to do with their return to the NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series. Very much looking forward to that and whatever details may come from it. Connor Zilisch is overseas taking part in a Red Bull Motorsports showcase event, and Trackhouse posted this kind of entertaining clip of Zilisch's brief interaction with fellow Red Bull athlete Max Verstappen.
How are you? Good to see you. You want to get in? Good to see you, man.
Hey, you heard him. Max said, I'd like to do it, so maybe one day we will see the four-time defending Formula One world champion behind the wheel of a NASCAR stock car. I just love that Trackhouse Red Bull have this 18-year-old development driver overseas representing NASCAR, just chilling with Max Verstappen, just keeping it casual. Good for Connor. Good for Connor. You know, it's been a couple years since Trackhouse pulled old Project 91 out of the garage. Obviously, Zilisch and SVG and Verstappen have a sponsor connection. Daniel Suarez, if I'm not mistaken, is brothers-in-law with Max Verstappen. Fun fact. So there are a lot of connections there. I mean, Suarez is on an expiring contract, so maybe y'all got to make a deal happen quickly. But still, the idea of Max Verstappen racing in NASCAR one day doesn't seem so far-fetched if you ask me. The big story this week has been Carson Hocevar. The polarizing sophomore Cup Series driver won the Money in the Bank 150 at Berlin Raceway a few nights ago. On Sunday, the NASCAR Cup Series rolls into his home state of Michigan. Shoot, Carson even brought up the time he won one of my stop-motion die-cast races 12 years ago. He has all the momentum behind him heading into Michigan International Speedway. But there was one person who could have stood between Hocevar and victory lane. That was Ricky Stenhouse Jr. Hocevar made contact with Stenhouse at Nashville, sent Stenhouse into the wall, into the garage. Ricky wasn't too happy with Carson Hocevar, seemed to suggest some sort of payback would be coming Carson's way. Carson texted Stenhouse this week, and today, Ricky Stenhouse Jr. responded on SiriusXM NASCAR radio.
After Carson called me this week, I definitely see where he was thinking that he could get to the inside of me before. Problem was he didn't. And, I appreciate him, reaching out and, just explaining what his thought process was in it.
Yeah, I don't know about you. That doesn't sound to me like someone who's out for vengeance, thirsty for blood. Sounds like he's kind of let it go.
I don't mind a good rivalry, but having a rivalry, not competing for wins is kind of difficult.
So just as quickly as this rivalry seemed to brew, it's done, over and done with, at least for the time being. Now, if Carson cuts Ricky off or runs into him again, okay, the floodgates are back open. But for now, it sounds like Ricky and Carson kind of see where each other are coming from. And maybe they agreed to disagree, but they at least agreed on something. Maybe I'm naive. Maybe Ricky, the cagey vet that he is trying to lull Carson into a false sense of security. And then when Hocevar least expects it, boom, Ricky's going to tag him in the bumper, run him up into the fence. Maybe that's what this is. Maybe Ricky's playing mind games here in the media. I guess only time will tell. Anyway, like I talked about earlier this week, here we go. Another example of Carson Hocevar towing that line, borderline over-aggressive, but doesn't sound like it's going to come back to bite him. See, when Carson is aggressive, he finishes well. Aggressive at Atlanta, had a line of people wanting to talk to him after the race. He finished second in that race. Nashville gets into Stenhouse controversy, finishes second as well. Like, when Hocevar is aggressive, often it works out for him. So, I don't know. This is just another example of his aggression not necessarily coming back to bite him. Dale Earnhardt Jr. this week actually compared Carson in some ways to a very young Dale Earnhardt Sr. Dale Jr. made the comparison, not me, not Carson. I mean, I know Carson kind of is playing dress up sometimes with the cowboy hat and, the Dale truck as his daily driver, but this was Dale Jr. made the comparison. I think he's fairly qualified to make such a comparison. Anyway, another storyline this week was Corey LaJoie back in the, checks notes, Craftsman Truck Series. That's right, in case you missed it, Corey LaJoie earlier this week announced a 9-race schedule with Spire Motorsports. LaJoie will drive the number 07 truck beginning this weekend at Michigan. When the news first broke, a lot of fans were quick to point to some unsavory comments Corey made about the truck series back in January. For context, during Media Day, just before the season, LaJoie was asked about choosing to run a part-time Cup schedule rather than a full-time truck schedule. Remember, Corey had suggested that he was offered the number 19 truck full-time that Daniel Hemrick is now driving and is currently second in points with, but LaJoie turned it down. So Corey was asked by Bob Pockrass back in January, why not race trucks? And this was Corey's infamous response. He said, quote, "Do you want to go pump the ego up and hold a trophy on a Friday when there's 12 people in the grandstands? No, I want to compete against the best because I feel like with every group that I've been, groups that I built from the ground up, any given Sunday, we can go contend for a win, whether at a speedway or we can run top 10 any given week." The 12 people in the grandstands comments did not sit well with many race fans, certainly not the Craftsman Truck Series garage. Today, Corey was asked about those comments, and he said that he regrets making them. Corey LaJoie told Bob Pockrass that back in January, he wasn't happy with the question. He said he was hangry because he had apparently just started a 5-day fast. This was what Corey said today, quote, "I wish I wouldn't have added that 12 comment in, because then people in the truck garage took offense to it, and there were so many things that came out of it in a negative light just for a couple comments I said when I was hangry. If only Corey still had that Built Bar sponsorship, maybe this whole thing could have been avoided." But LaJoie then talked about this 9-race truck series deal with Spire. He said, quote, "There are hundreds, if not thousands, of kids, drivers that would love this opportunity, so that's not missed on me. I'm going to take it that seriously. This is my shot." LaJoie said that his goal is ultimately to get back to racing regularly on Sundays, but he also wants to get back to having fun in NASCAR. Going back to his comments in January, they were certainly disrespectful, tone deaf, not a good look, but I also understand maybe the frustration. He says he was hangry, but I think there was seriously some deep-rooted frustration there. I think Corey, for years, has kind of been asked that same question. For years, people have asked LaJoie, like, hey, we get that you're in the Cup Series, but you're running 30th every week for Go Fast Racing or BK Racing or Spire those first few years. Like, you're in C-tier Cup equipment. Why not scrounge together funding, go to your partners, and convince them to chase a competitive truck or Xfinity Series seat? Like, why do you insist on staying in uncompetitive Cup Series equipment? And I think Corey has just been hell-bent to prove he belongs in the top levels of stock car racing. He has raced full-time in Cup for 7, 8 years before this season. He's probably thinking, hey, quit asking me about trucks. I'm a Cup Series driver, been doing it nearly a decade. And back in January, when he was first asked that, he had just announced that he was going to attempt the Daytona 500 partnership with Rick Ware Racing. I'm sure he was excited about that. Why are you asking me about the trucks? I'm a Cup guy, have been for years. It's a fair question to ask, no doubt, but I think Corey, if I had to guess, was just tired of it. He's been asked similar questions for years, and that frustration combined with apparently being hangry led to some poor wording, let's just say. But I was glad to hear Corey say today that he regrets those comments. I'm sure he does. I believe him. I hope he does well this weekend and going forward in the 07 Spire truck. I'm a little skeptical, though, just because we saw this truck 7 days ago run 16th with Kyle Busch, while Kyle Busch's teammate won the race. So this 07 truck is, sometimes it looks wicked, frankly, not in a good way. Evil is maybe a better way to describe the 07 truck. So hopefully over the next 9 races, I guess they're not 9 in a row exactly, but over the next several months, hopefully Corey LaJoie and the 07 team can build chemistry and put together some competitive runs, because I would like to see Corey win a Truck Series race. I know he rubs people the wrong way sometimes. He's not for everybody. I get that, but he's always been very good to me. So I'm looking forward to seeing what LaJoie can do in this truck. Hopefully they put together some really good runs this year. And back to the 19 truck, I still understand even why he passed on that opportunity. Because remember, Charles DeNike was leaving for 2311, so it was going to be a completely different crew chief, a lot of different people over there. Imagine you go to that truck that Christian Eckes nearly won a championship in and suddenly run 12th. We'd all be saying, damn, Corey LaJoie must be the problem, huh? The optics would not be great. Now, we obviously know that the 19 truck is still pretty competitive. I mean, Daniel Hemrick has them second in Truck Series points right now. So, in hindsight, maybe Corey wishes he took that deal. But in the moment, I get why he would be hesitant to accept that deal. And because his schedule has been more flexible this year, he's been able to launch his TV career with Amazon Prime Video and seems to be doing a very good job. So I still think Corey LaJoie is in a good place, but I don't blame fans for second guessing some of his decisions over the past few months. I'm pulling for Corey this weekend at Michigan and going forward. Hopefully that 07 truck can get it together, string some good runs together. Is there anything else this week? What other topics? Have we covered everything? I think the ARCA race is starting right now. I think I'll leave it there so I can catch at least most of the ARCA race. If you missed any of my content this week, we've talked Michigan, we've talked Hocevar, we've talked LaJoie, big lawsuit news yesterday in case you missed it. Ton of news on and off track this week. We've covered it all. Head to my channel to see if you've missed any big stories from the past week, but that'll do it for today. Thanks for watching, y'all. Leave a like if you enjoyed this video. Subscribe for more NASCAR content, commentary, news, race reactions, and much more every single day. And a big thank you to my generous supporters. Looking forward to a fun weekend of racing at Michigan. I'll talk to you again Sunday night. Have a good rest of your weekend, y'all.